10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined by the technician Chris Aceto from Qatar on this February 24th, 2020 evening. And Chris, this is going to be the first official time we use our new little, I guess you could say, setup that we have here, so people can actually see us. People always say they want to see us when they do the radio show. Unfortunately, you're in Qatar, and Chris, you haven't updated your iPhone since you bought the thing.
Well, no, I'm using a BlackBerry, Dave, so maybe that's...
Chris is like, I don't know how to update the phone. I'm like, wait, you've never updated the phone? He's like, no, I don't know how.
Well, people laugh. I don't know how to update my phone, and I do not, is the real truth. I don't know how to turn on the TV with like 3 remote controls around me.
Right.
At my if my kids leave, I say leave the TV on if I want to watch something.
You know what I did? I bought a new TV, Chris, and the new TVs, it's just one remote. Like, you know, no one uses DVD players anymore anyway. I have my Apple TV. That's about it. And the one remote controls everything. It's great. I don't have to have 40 remotes anymore.
Probably.
I'm sure I know you probably have the VCR and the DVD player like my dad did still hooked up to the TV, right? That you have from like 15 years ago.
Well, I may actually only have one remote control. I just don't even have the time to see
Do you seriously though? Do you still have the VCR hooked up to the TV?
No, we got rid of the VCR long
You
time
did?
ago.
Wow. How do you watch your old bodybuilding shows?
Last month we got rid of it.
Last month. You know, I hate doing this. I hate looking into the camera. When I do radio, I like to just do other things. But I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'm operating on, it is 8:20 in the morning. I went to bed at 4, so I'm operating on 4 hours sleep, and I combed my hair. So I combed my hair for nothing because I thought I was going to be on video.
I know. Well, who would have known that you didn't update your you didn't update your iPhone? All right. So what are you doing in Qatar?
I'm purchasing an oil well. I'm just kidding. I came over here because actually, the truth is because some people in Qatar are like, what do you do? It's like people wanted to bring me, are offended who wanted to bring me, who didn't get a chance to bring me. When Kamal won the Arnold, he said, as a victory gift, he said, let's go to like Libya. You know, I'm from Libya and we'll
Right.
go. And no. I said, I'm not going. I said, me and you can go with my wife and you can take your wife. You know,
Right.
The 4 of us will go. So he started to set that up and things went south in Libya. There's like a war going on. And he said, it's not, you know, looks like
Right.
it's not going to happen. And he said, let's go somewhere else. And that brought us all the way to the Olympia where he was 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And we were debating after the Olympia where he's 3rd to go. And I was half serious, half kidding. I said, Kamal, when you win the Olympia next year, you can bring me and my family and you and your family somewhere.
Right.
And after the prejudging at the Olympia,
Right.
I went into his room past year, the one that he won.
Uh-huh.
And he's there all alone. He doesn't have a posse hanging around. It's
Sure.
just him and only him in the room.
Okay.
And I knocked on the door to go see him after prejudging, and he said, "Did you get your passport?" And I didn't know what he was talking about, And he said, "We're going on a trip." That was the indication that he thought he was going to win the Olympia.
Right.
So right after the Olympia, he started to, think about where we're going to go and what we're going to do and so forth. And I'd never met his wife and kid. I met 2 of his kids with Roden like in 2016 in England.
Now he's been living in England though, right?
He's living in England, but he used to live in Qatar for years.
I remember that. You said wasn't he part of the Qatari bodybuilding team or something like that?
Yeah. Yep. And so he has a lot of contacts here. So he set the trip up, and we all flew over here on the 15th, and we leave tomorrow on the, I think, 24th.
Which is interesting because, we have another mutual friend who's in Qatar, and I thought that's who you went to see, but he's not even there, right?
No, he's not here. So we came like for a vacation.
Right.
Did do with Kamal like one quick seminar, and that's it. To some trainers of Powerhouse Gym here, but essentially we've been just here relaxing, and as much as I can relax.
What's there to do in Qatar? Now I know in Dubai
What's
there's plenty to do. What's there to do?
You shopping malls that make like the Aventura Mall, which my kids are impressed with in Miami, look like a teardown.
Really? Wow, I didn't know that. How would you compare it to the? Did you go to the one in Dubai? You know, where the Burj is?
No, I didn't go to that one, but it seems to be on par. I mean, it just, you know how extremely impressive, and
is there as much tourism there in Qatar as there is in Dubai?
No, there's not. There's not, but I think after the World Cup in 2022, built, I think it's 11 or 20 different stadiums only for the World Cup. And each stadium, as of 4 months ago, is connected by a subway.
Wow. And
the subway looks like Four Seasons. Like Four Seasons lobby is the equivalent to...
Like it's that clean too, right? Yeah.
No, it's that grand.
Now, here's the thing that I don't understand.
I challenge my kids. You mentioned clean, Dave. I challenge my kids from day one. If they can find, this is serious.
Yeah.
One piece of trash anywhere the whole time we're here.
Really? That crazy? They probably put you in jail if you throw paper on the floor, right?
Well, one, you don't get people throwing paper on the floor.
Because they're afraid to go to jail. They're strict there.
No, I think they take pride in their community.
Yeah, people. Yeah, I guess. But you know what? In Dubai, like I thought this was a great thing. I remember, what's his name? Sammy Trudy was telling me this. If you commit a crime there, you're out. Like it could be the stupidest crime too. They just kick you out of the country. Like it's like a privilege to be there, and you can stay there, and they like you there. But if you don't abide by their laws, they kick you out. It's a great fucking idea. That's what the U.S. should do. Go ahead, go to Mexico, go to Canada. We don't want you. You commit a crime, you're out of there. You're out of here. You know, no one would commit crimes.
I would like to make not paying your rent on a crime, and then I could kick some points out.
There you go. So here's my question. They got all these stadiums. How many stadiums did they build for the World Cup?
At least 11. I think it might be 8.
All right. Great. The World Cup comes in 2022. They're going to look like it's going to be amazing, right? Because, I mean, beautiful stadiums, easy ways to get back to all the stadiums. What do they do after the World Cup's over? What do they do with all these stadiums?
I don't know. I don't know what they'll do with them.
It's like Brazil. They built all that stuff in Brazil for the Olympics. And in what's it called? Rio de Janeiro. And then I think they're all empty now, all these stadiums they built.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not too worried about it. They'll find something to do with it. Maybe they'll, maybe they can give us one and we can make it a radio studio.
There you go.
But there's a lot to do. We went, to the desert a couple times. Went dune buggy riding in the desert.
Cool. Now I got the map of Qatar up there, just so I can act like a big shot with my graphics.
You love that.
And
maybe you can Google over the Millennium Hotel. That's where I'm at.
Well, I'm looking at Qatar. It almost looks like Florida in reverse. Actually, it looks like Maine a little bit, the shape of Maine. Ironically enough, I see it's across from Bahrain, and so there's water all around. So are you constantly having? Do you have a water view from your hotel?
I don't have a water view from my hotel, but it's a beautiful hotel.
Yeah, because you're in Doha, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's right on the coast there. Pretty cool looking. Well, all right. Let's talk some bodybuilding. First of all, I unfortunately have some very bad news for anyone who might. It seems like we're always announcing bad news on the show. Every show we have at least one story to announce.
True.
My friend Cole Hanslik, who a lot of people probably have heard me talk about, had him on the TV show. He died this yesterday. They found him in his apartment. He had OD'd on drugs. He had a drug issue, his whole life. He always struggled with, and it was unfortunate. It just ended poorly. He was a great kid, great potential. He was a really good bodybuilder, And he's one of these guys that would do anything for you. You know, he was always there for you. I was very good friends with his dad, who also passed away at a very young age, not from drugs, but from a viral infection of his heart when he was 33. And it's unfortunate that that he also is no longer with us. So, you know, I want to send my condolences out, of course, to his family and his mother, Tony, and his wife, Marlon, and the rest of his family. You know, I knew them very well, obviously, and this was a big shocker. You know, I knew he wasn't doing well, but I didn't think it was going to get to that point. But you know what? You never know, you know, what's going to happen when someone is addicted to drugs and they're, you know, they're just doing the wrong thing. And I know a lot of people on RxMuscle knew who he was because he did all the Bros versus Pros challenges, and it's sad. It really is, Chris, when you lose someone like so young like that in his 20s.
Yeah, you know, with addiction, someone once said to me, who's still sober, he said, "I feel like I can go either way any day of the week."
Isn't that it's terrible, really, when you think about it. It's really sad.
I just feel like tomorrow I could wake up and start doing drugs again.
It's so weird, right?
Yeah, you know. So it was in the relation to kind of like, what's your, you know, oh, you're doing great, you know, things are going good for you, you know. And I'm saying this, and he's looking at me with a, you know, glossy, like, you know, maybe they're not going so great. So when I pressed him, he said that's what he, you know, his answer is with drugs, with his addiction, because he'd fallen off so many times over like 15 years.
Yeah,
you know, he'd go like years, everything's fine, and then hit a crazy bad patch.
Yep.
So 4 years patch. He said, you know, anything can happen at any time with me.
That's unfortunately, you know, the life of someone who has an addiction issue. And, you know, I love the story that John Lindsay told me. John Lindsay, who obviously promoted bodybuilding competitions for many, many years, and owned Muscle Contest, all those shows out in California that are now expanding throughout the world. And you know, he ran the USA Championships. He told me, you know, Dave, he goes, because I didn't know this, he was an alcoholic. He's like, I go to an AA meeting every single day, 7 days a week. I've never missed one for 30 years. He's like, he goes, doesn't matter what city I'm in. It doesn't matter where I'm traveling to, you know, for shows. I find a meeting and I go every single day. I said, John, after 30 years, why do you still go every day? He's like, because if I miss one meeting, I'm afraid I'll go back to drinking because I always have that urge there. It never goes away. He's like, and that's the life of an addict. He says, you never stop being an addict. He goes, so you always have to remind yourself. So I need to go every day to remind myself that I cannot have a drink because I always want one.
Yeah, it's a, I mean, that's the reality, and it's
crazy, right?
It is. Yep. I mean, think it. You know, I mean, alcohol is, it's amazing. I have a tenant that, or used to have a tenant that they would do the backwater stuff, whatever that means, for Alcoholics Anonymous, like the Office Center,
right?
And the high-profile people, meaning incredibly successful, working right now or working at that point, you know, lawyers, doctors, nurses, school teachers, all the way down to, you know, the stereotypical, you know, janitor, you know, a cleaner,
right?
But the, you know, the whole entire spectrum of people who, you know, he would tell me, the head of Alcoholics Anonymous would tell me who were, quote, clients over the years.
And you know what? It works. So many people swear by it. And, you know, I know a lot of people feel like, oh, I don't want to have to go to these meetings. And but some people, you need help. And the great thing is all these people can relate to every story that you can possibly tell them. No matter how fucked up you are, they'll understand because they've all gone through the same thing. And so I used to try to encourage them to go to these meetings, and, you know, because they have Narcotics Anonymous too, you know, like Alcoholics Anonymous. And he would go initially when he'd have a bad run and just, you know, and then he would just stop going. And that was his downfall because, you know, then all the old urges, all the same people come around you. And before you know it, you're back to doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. So if anyone does have a problem out there, I always like to say this, whenever someone does pass, hopefully if their death is not in vain, if it could help even one single person. So I know. There's a lot of people in our industry that suffer with addiction problems.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's, you can say that in our industry, but someone in quote another industry would say the same exact thing.
Yeah. No, it's not just us.
We're not special and unique. That's my
Yeah.
point. Saying that from the lawyer all the way down to the janitor and everyone in between, there's people who struggle with addiction or alcohol or everything else.
Now, let's move to a brighter note, because I don't want to be depressive. I don't want to have a depressing show the whole show. But Dexter Jackson announced this past week that this was going to be his last show this year. The Olympia would be his last show, and he's going to be retiring after whatever it is, 30 years or whatever. How many years has he been competing?
He has been on the scene since, like, heavy duty since what, 93?
Probably like at the national level, not as a pro,
Dexter, I can remember Dexter doing like the middleweight or light heavy or middles. I think it was middles.
Southern State or something like that, right?
Yeah, he did the middleweight nationals and he did not make the cut.
Really? Well, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And ask him, and I saw him in the bathroom. I remember and I remember speaking with him, and I went up to him. It must have been 92, 93, 91, somewhere in that range.
Right.
And I said, I thought you won the class. And he didn't make the cut. It was one of those.
Oh, that was 90. That was the 95 nationals in New Orleans. How do you like that for memory?
Did he not? He didn't make the cut, right?
Didn't make top 15 after he won the USA the year before or something like that, or Well, I think 6 months earlier or something like that.
After that, or he won the North Americas after that, I believe. But he should have won that show. He should have won the class that year, or could have easily have won the class, because he was phenomenal. That
was the year that Tom Prince and Don Long were battling it out in that heavyweight class. I don't remember who won the light heavyweight class, but Dexter was not in the top 15. He probably, like you said, could have won. He certainly was top 5, material.
I mean, can you imagine Dexter Jackson not making the top 15 of any national level show?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think they just had missed him somehow. What I said to him, I've been talking to him in the lobby about it too, because he didn't even know, he was kind of thankful that I even stopped him, because we didn't really know each other. I'm like, man, you got really ripped off. He's like, yeah. He goes, I'm glad someone else said it. I said, well, you won the USA like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever it was. They said, I mean, you were in just as good a condition. I don't know what they were looking at. He goes, I don't know either, man. And he's like, thanks, I appreciate that, And so he came back the following year, and then he won the North American overall. He won the light heavyweight class at 184 pounds. That tells you how good he is. To win the light heavyweight class at 184 pounds, when the guy, or 189, I think he was, and the guys, that class went up to 198, and guys would suck down from 215 to make that class.
Yeah.
So he was certainly not the biggest guy on stage, And then he won the overall. He was essentially a pumped up middleweight still at that point.
So weight's never been important to him.
No, well, I think it was. He just, he started as a bantamweight. I mean, he had gained 60 pounds.
What I mean is he's been able to beat everybody at
absolutely
weight.
I had friends in the Bronx who used to compete, and they were friends with Dexter. I don't even know how Dexter was friends with these guys, but they said Dexter used to call them up and say, man, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder. I'm going to be on that Olympia stage, vying for that Olympia title. And they used to think he was like, they used to make fun of him. They used to mock him. And like it would be like, like some little kid in nursery, like my son Logan telling me I'm going to be Mr. Olympia, And he would probably have more potential, because we don't even know what he's only 4 years old. Dexter was already competing, and he was competing as a bantamweight. They're like, you're going to be the Olympia. You think you're going to be Mr. Olympia? You're a bantamweight, He's like, you watch. He was right.
He followed through.
Why do you think he's decided that this is going to be it this year?
I don't know. I was surprised. I always thought, I mean, he obviously has his reasons, but I always thought he would go until his placings started to slide, and they're not
Right.
really sliding at all. I mean,
Yeah.
at all. He's right up there in the mix to win. He'll be in the mix to win this show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what if he wins this show? Is he going to retire? I mean, can he take back that retirement? I mean, why would he?
Yeah. I would look at Johnny Jackson. Johnny Jackson's coming back at 49. Most bodybuilders, they say they're retiring, but they don't really retire. They come back. They miss it.
Yeah.
He loves that whole lifestyle. He's living out in California there in Venice. He's got his house back in Jacksonville, goes back and forth. He promotes a couple shows. I think Dexter is at this point where he's like, you know what? I can make a shitload of money if I just stop competing, because I can make more from the business of the sport rather than just try to get prize money at this point. And maybe it's a business move, or this is usually what causes the guys to stop competing. He has some kind of injury or something like that, or something that's maybe chronically nagging. It could be like arthritis, something like that. And he just feels, you know what, I can't be as good as I was maybe 5 years ago. That's what really stopped me from competing. My shoulders got bad. I'm like, you know what, I can't be better than I was like last year. What's the purpose of sticking around? At this point. So that's a possibility. I didn't even know this. Did you know I interviewed Johnny Jackson? He had a mass, some kind of a tumor on his left lung. It's still there, actually. It's been there for almost his whole life, but it had started growing a little bit, and they were worried about it. So he's like, I'm not going to risk, my life for bodybuilding, and that's why he stopped competing 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. And then the thing kind of went dormant or something like that. They can't even operate on it because it's so like fibrotically intercalated into his lung tissue, and it's benign. But so he figured, what? He started training a little again with Branch, and you know how those go are so competitive in the gym. And he started looking good. He's like, yeah, I'm going to try to compete. And I guess Bob Lorman and him are good friends. And Bob's kept saying, why don't you do the Arnold? Do the Arnold, do the Arnold. And so he's like, all right. And that's how that came about. So he's making his comeback at 49 years of age.
Johnny is the youngest looking 49-year-old.
I said that. I can't believe you said that. I said that to him in the interview. You didn't watch the interview, did you? Actually, we didn't even put it up yet.
No. So I'm just affirming what you told me.
I said to him, how come you don't have a fucking wrinkle on your face? You look like you're 25 years old. Yeah, right? You
are the youngest looking 49-year-old I ever met.
He's got that Sugar Ray Leonard. Remember Sugar Ray Leonard, the boxer?
He has like a youthful look.
Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard had that very youthful look his whole life too. Yeah. Perfect skin.
Jackson's had a tremendous career.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he was going to be done after he did that Arnold South Africa. He won. I said, Johnny, this is a great way to go out on top, man. He did that final Olympia, and I thought that was it. I thought we'd never see him on stage again, but evidently I was wrong.
Well, you just said it's hard to retire.
And I said to him, is this going to be like a one-off, like just one show comeback? He goes, no way, man. He goes, I'm going to hit a bunch of shows.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing about Dexter. I said, you think Dexter is going to say to himself, well, you know what? This is my last year. I have 29 wins. I got to go for 30. I might as well, hit like 5 shows this year. You think he's going to hit a bunch of shows?
Oh, no, but you know what's amazing is that Johnny's 49, Dexter's 50, Kamal's 49.
It's crazy,
and
right?
It's we know that's impressive, but what other sport really do you have super successful 49 and 50-year-olds in?
Now, do you think that these guys are successful because the competition sucks, or is it just that these guys are that good still?
I think that they're that good still, but what I'm making the point is that what other sport can you continue to be highly competitive, if not the best in,
right.
At this age? You can't do it. You can't do it in football, basketball. You can't do it in baseball. You can't do it in tennis. You can't do it in boxing.
Maybe golf. Not even really, though.
Golf, maybe. But table tennis,
your reflexes are just not. Those are sports that you have to perform. See, bodybuilding is really not a sport you need to perform on stage. I mean, opposing routine is opposing routine. You're not really, they don't even judge you on that. So you can do a slow posing routine, if you had to. it's more of a beauty pageant. We've said this before. So, but the fact that we can keep our bodies looking this good into this late of an age, that is what's impressive, I think. You know,
that's even a bigger point.
Yeah, the muscle.
It's even a point, Dave, that is not celebrated. You know, the quote regular press or whatever would say, well, first thing out of their mouth is what when it comes to bodybuilding?
Steroids.
That's right. And then you can juxtapose it with, hi, I'm 49, hi, I'm 50, I'm 50,
right.
and I'm winning shows.
Well, maybe that's why we can do it so long, because we take steroids. Maybe they're actually good for you. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe steroids actually make you look better, be healthier if they're used, obviously, in the right way, in the right capacity. Obviously, if you abuse anything, it's no good for you. But I believe that all the GH and the testosterone absolutely helps the youth of the body. We know that. We know it's regenerative and all that stuff. So of course the bodies look better. You know, I doubt you're going to see a natural bodybuilder looking, as good as he did, when he's 50 as he did when he was 20, or better, for that matter.
Good point.
But yeah, I mean, not many people can do it. Injuries usually take away most of the guys into their later years. And Dexter just has really managed to avoid the injury bug. I mean, his whole career, he never really has had a major injury that I know of, right?
No, not that we know of. I mean, it hasn't affected him one.
Yeah.
If he has had an injury, obviously it hasn't affected him.
Yeah. But he goes through all his therapies. Now he takes very good care of himself. Trust me. No one takes better care of himself than Dexter Jackson. And, he lives the bodybuilding lifestyle, and that's the key. Once you stop living the lifestyle and you start doing too many other things, your body deteriorates. You got to have your mental game on all the time. And it's tough. That's why he's really the Iron Horse, because he's able to do it year after year after year and keep that same mental, focus on what his goals are and not deviate. I don't know how he does it, to be honest with you.
Well, he's the exception, right? I mean, even though these guys, these three we just mentioned, at 49, 50, not everybody's doing it at 49. Yeah. But still, I mean, he's not the only exception. I mean, there's that's three who are super impressive.
Can he possibly win the show, Chris, in your estimation?
Yes, he can. There's a lot of people who can possibly win the show. Dexter can. Dexter, it's a long shot, but he can for sure. I think the show has to line up in his favor, like the call-outs, and I think what would have to happen is he needs to be at his best. But one thing with Dexter, or close to his best, or like good enough to win. But every single time someone's said, well, Dexter's, this is a tough show and Dexter's getting along in age, he's proved him wrong. So just on the simple fact that he's proved wrong, including me, I mean, there's been shows where I'm thinking, okay, Dexter's, he's not going to be at his best here, or he's not going to be, have enough leg separation, or his abs aren't going to be there. And, his legs are extremely separated and his abs are super flat. And I mean, show to show, so much can happen at this show. I mean, there's so many different ways the show can play out. I would hate to judge it, but I think it's going to be judged like the Olympia, extremely with a fine tooth and comb, so that that people get a chance to be compared to this one and that one. And I think that's how the Olympia went down. And I think this idea of we're going to call 3 or 4, which they've done at Arnold shows in the past. Maybe not the last couple of years, but maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago, they would call 3 people, 4 people for the top spot, and wouldn't get a chance to, compete against other people who thought they should have been higher than. I think you're going to get the first call out of maybe 6, 7,
right?
And then mix those around and try to whittle it down to 4. And like every show, there's going to be surprises where people are not going to look their best, and other people are going to look their absolute all-time best. It's hard to handicap because of the so many good physiques and the variances in physiques.
What's your take on the whole? What do you think about Ramy? What's your prediction? I mean, you're always pretty much on the mark with Ramy. Where do you think he's going to fall in this lineup?
He's either going to he's either gonna, like everyone else, he's either gonna win. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Well, I mean, but what do you think is going to happen? I know what I know what the possibilities are: either win or do terrible. But what do you think if you had to be a betting man? Like if you had to bet on which Ramy we're going to see, which one is it going to be?
I think we're going to see the all-time best Ramy.
Really? Okay. Why do you say that?
I think we'll see the all-time best because it's a slingshot from not his all-time worst, but his all-time hardest defeat, which was the most recent Olympia 2 years ago.
Plus, not even making it to the Olympia last year.
I think the pendulum swings both ways. So I think that, had you seen him in second, third, or fourth 2 years ago, or second or third, you'd see an improved Ramy, but more of the same. But because he, quote, bombed out, I think the pendulum is going to swing the other way, and you're going to see the best in terms of combination of condition and roundness. And if he has that package, condition and roundness, he's going to be the guy to beat without a shadow of a doubt.
If I see it this way, if Ramy doesn't win this show, I mean, he's just a disaster. I mean, he has every tool capable of beating every single guy on that stage. There's no one there who can beat him when he's at his best. He's got more muscle than everyone. He's got enough symmetry to beat everyone. And if his conditioning is good, just as good as the best guys there, how do you beat the guy? I mean, he's enormous. He's got so much mass. He's got no weak body parts. I mean, he's just waiting to take over. I mean, we've been waiting for 5 years or maybe more now for this guy to take over, and he's had the tools all along. It's like almost like wasted talent. I have to imagine that he understands that this is the time right now. He's been released from the grips of the camel crew over there, so he can't blame them anymore, right? He has the ability to pick whoever he wanted to work with, wherever he wants to live. He's financially, stable, and he can do what he wants. Pretty much, he has all the money he needs. So there's absolutely no excuse why he cannot be at his best. If he's not, in my mind, then he doesn't have the heart or doesn't want it. And I don't believe that. I think he does have the heart for it. I think Ramy wants to win the Olympia just as much as we all want to see him win the Olympia. I think he had too many distractions before.
I agree with every single part of that sentence, that long rambling sentence. No, I mean, there's a lot there, but it got to do with, I mean, sometimes you got to be mentally ready.
Yeah.
And maybe in the past, he was mostly mentally ready, but a lot of it boils down to distractions. Contest prep for a lot of people can boil down to distractions, which means, focusing only on yourself. And, when you're someone who's like Ramy, you just have, a lot of people who want to be part of your success. And I don't mean this in a negative way. That's just the nature of the beast. And you get distracted, not like immensely distracted, but people are always throwing their 2 cents in. And the more you can isolate yourself from those type of distractions when you're in contest prep, the better for yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
It just seems time. It seems like it's time. I mean, it's been 2013. He came on the scene, and he's made improvements in some capacity every year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when he bombed out, he was the biggest he ever was. That's a fact.
Right.
Even when he was 5th or 6th a couple of years ago, he was undeniably ridiculously bigger than ever.
Oh yeah.
It's just that his condition was off. And fixing that, he ends up still being the biggest guy on stage with, good enough to win.
I agree. I think that it's got to be bothering Ramy at some point, in some degree. Also, the fact that he can't bring his best to the stage. It's funny because most of these guys go to the camel crew, oxygen gym, to train to get rid of the distractions in their life. He had all the distractions in his life coming from that environment for some reason, because he kind of was their child almost. That they grew up there. For guys who come from the U.S. and out other countries, it's like it's a removal of distractions because all their family is gone. Ramy is there, and everyone knows him, I think, and there's almost too many distractions. So maybe him leaving that environment is going to be better for him.
Well, he's still in Kuwait, so he's
Right, he's not at Oxygen Gym. No way, right? Isn't he training at another gym?
Yeah, he's not at Oxygen.
That's where the distractions were for him.
I mean,
because everyone wanted to help him, right? I mean, this one wants to train him. This one wants to pose him. This one wants to do his diet. This one wants to, stick a needle in his ass. You know what I'm saying? There's too many chefs in the over there.
Sometimes you create your own problems.
But yeah, but you know what? That was part of his upbringing. That was the wow factor. It was like a huge team of people helping Ramy. But then I think that everyone wanted to be the star of the team. You know what I'm saying?
Well, in their defense, yes, you're right, 100%. But in their defense, keep in mind, Ramy's had like 8 coaches, including me twice, George twice, Bill once. I mean,
right.
He's had DJ as a coach. I mean, it's like, I know nothing about Kung Fu other than you should have like, right, one based on the cartoons my kids watch all the time. And, jumping around does not, in search of like, not necessarily the magic formula, but like perfect success is not the best thing, obviously, for your success.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Arnold Classic. Let's talk about Sergio Oliva Jr. I did an interview with him this past week, and he, he's psyched and ready for this Arnold. It seems like this is the first show he's really had 100% focus for. Chris Cormier moved in with him. He's living there with them, helping him pose. And I said, Sergio, you ditched all the women the distractions. You got Chris Cormier posing you 3 times a day in your house. I said, you can't escape him. And he said that Chris really helped him a lot. He said he really didn't know what he was doing. Chris and him were watching videos of Sergio on stage, and he was like showing Sergio all this crap he was doing wrong. He's like, I didn't realize I was such a bad poser until Chris pointed all this stuff out to me.
Well, I think Chris has made an immense difference for Sergio in terms of not only how he presents himself on every pose. Every single one Chris has changed, and not a little bit, a lot.
Oh, yeah, is it really that much?
Oh, and just the tweaks. I mean, it's like, rearranging the furniture in a room. You can make it look totally different just by the way you arrange it.
Right.
His physique looks different, one, because of that, but more importantly, when Chris started training with Sergio, his body just took off.
That's great.
And the interesting thing is, I think I said on the radio, I know people who train with Sergio, and they said, I took my training intensity level to a whole new place. And this shows the maturity of Sergio Oliva, is that when he started training with Chris, he said the same thing.
Well, he told me, he said, I will guarantee one thing. He goes, I don't know how I'm going to do in the show, but I'm going to guarantee no one will beat my posing routine. I will have the best posing routine there. Guarantees it. And I believe
he always has very good routines, but he's going to have a good routine with a, new physique, I would say.
Well, and he said, yeah, he's got a new physique, but he's also got Chris, who's, I guess, preparing him, helping him with the routine, I believe.
Oh, Chris helping with the routine too? Yeah, well,
I think, or maybe not. He always has but like you said, he always has a good routine. He really just needed help with the mandatories more so than anything.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think Chris has been an enormous help to Sergio's physical development, but I think that Sergio was mentally at a great place when he started his prep way back.
Right. But Chris is good too. I'll tell you why. Because Chris will talk bodybuilding all day long with you if you want. So he's keeping Sergio focused on the show as opposed to like having like drama with women and drama with this and money problems. And I think Sergio's in a stable place. I mean, you always have the diet taken care of with him. That's not an issue. And although he did bring up the story about Tampa when he did Tampa and you had to yell at him.
Oh yeah, yell at him all the time. Did I yell at him at Tampa? New York Pro, maybe.
No. I thought, didn't you yell at him in Tampa and like almost like really wipe the floor up with him because he was acting like a retard?
Yeah. No, he got it wrong. There was a New York Pro. His friends, like, he's got photos of the argument as well. I've seen the photos. It's embarrassing on my part.
You were like his father, like you yelled at him like his father would. You know?
We got into it about something, and I was exhausted.
Yeah.
Acted like
I never heard Chris raise his voice like that. I said, "It's a good thing you're not one of his kids." I said,
After that, it was the New York Pro, and after I'm glad he won the New York Pro.
Yeah.
That's because I like you, Sergio. If I, didn't like you, I'd just ignore you and say, "Go, do what you want to do." I'd do a Bob Gruss and say, "Oh, go do what you want to do." He probably doesn't know what we're fighting about, right?
No, he doesn't remember. He has no idea. He was insane. You told me he was insane, out of his mind.
Yeah. Well, he had a lot of stress.
Didn't he have girlfriend stress or wife stress, right?
No, at that show, I think he had financial stress with girlfriends, with like contract stress, with, it just was a crescendo that weekend. And
that's another thing he told me. He got rid of all his contracts. He's like, I'm not being sponsored by any other companies. I'm starting my own. So he's got
it's given him a tremendous amount of mental freedom.
Sure.
Yeah, because when you have a boss, you're beholden to that boss, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, you get paid by that boss, but you're still beholden to him.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you can't do or say exactly what you want to do at all times of the day. You kind of have to behave or do what is, quote, expected, whether that be written or nonverbal or non-written down. So, I mean, I don't have a boss, so I always say I can do and say whatever I want when I want. Technically, you don't want to say things, which I may, that offend people, but you're more liberal with what you want to have to say because you don't have, at the end of the day, a boss saying you can't say that.
Right.
I always think it's that to be independent. I said, the good thing about not having a boss is that it gives you more freedom.
True.
Technically.
Yep. Now, let's go to. I want to bring up another story. Our good friend Greg Valentino. I don't know if you heard what happened.
Oh.
So he was telling us on he does the After Hours podcast with us every week, and he was telling us he had some kind of a growth in the back of his throat, and it was annoying. I guess when he was swallowing, he'd feel it, and he decided, like, he went to the doctor and said, although Greg doesn't like going to the doctor, and he's like, what's going on? And the doctors looked at the stuff, and she said, we should remove this. They thought it was like an HPV, human papilloma virus, like maybe like type of thing growing back there. They removed it. They biopsied it. It turns out it's cancer. He's got like a squamous cell cancer back there, but it seems to be well contained, and I don't think it's spread or anything like that. But he'll be finding out. So I wanted to send out a huge get well. He'll be on the podcast again Monday. He's not taking any time off, but he's got to go back and get it looked at and everything like that. And it's scary. You got that diagnosis once before when you had the melanoma. I mean, it's a very scary diagnosis, and you think there's nothing wrong with you. The guy never smoked a day in his life. He never had he doesn't have any of this. He doesn't have he's HPV negative. The guy doesn't have any symptoms that would cause anything to grow in the back of his throat, and yet he has this thing here. So you never know.
Well, what did they do? What did they do for it?
Well, they removed it already, so I think they want to. I guess they're going to probably do like an MRI or some kind of CAT scan to make sure there was no spread. They're going to check his lymph nodes around that area to make sure that it didn't spread. It seemed like I read the report. It seemed pretty self-contained. Like it was like they sometimes they go in there and they'll remove the margins a little bit more, just to play it safe. But I guess he's got to go see a doctor in another week and a half. He'll tell the whole story on Monday or I should say on Tuesday on the After Hours podcast if you guys want to watch. But if you guys want to just send him a big, little pep talk or pep email or Instagram, nod, I'm sure he'd appreciate that. So, but Greg's a great guy, obviously, and we don't want to see anything happen to him. But it's important you go get these things checked out. If something pops up and you're not sure, it looks weird, go get it checked out. You never know. And if you catch it early, like Greg did probably, and like a lot of smart people do, then it's 100% curable. Get it out, and there's nothing wrong. It's when you leave it and you don't do anything about it, and it spreads, and then they can't do anything. It's like you always hear the story about the old stubborn Italian who wouldn't go to the doctor, right, their whole life, and it works sometimes, until you get to a certain age, and then all of a sudden you find out you have cancer that's all over your body. And if you would have gone 5 years earlier, maybe it wouldn't have happened. So it's important to check these things out. But Greg will be on after hours, like I said, this Tuesday. Now, you're in Qatar. What day do you come back?
I leave in less than a day.
Oh, okay. That's right. You just mentioned that in the beginning. So now, you fly back because you're in Maine. How many connections do you have to make?
20. No, I fly straight to Boston.
Oh, you did?
I left my car is there.
Oh, all right. Well, that's not so bad.
And,
that's smart of you to do that. Because you know what? A lot of people don't realize, there's no direct flights to Maine.
No, you can fly to probably 12 places, I think it is. You can go to like Boston, New York, Detroit, Charlotte,
right.
Chicago, I think Denver, Atlanta. Maybe there's less. Maybe there's only 8 places.
Yeah.
So I'm only home maybe 5 days. I'm going to be incredibly swamped with catch-up stuff when I get back, and then I'm actually going to go out to the Arnold early.
Oh, really? Like what day?
I think I get out there super early Monday morning.
Wow.
I plan to go like
a saint.
I know. Well, she just gave me her schedule. The day after she gets back, she's got to be like in meetings from like literally 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Sergio, I had made my flight for like Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And goes back to Sergio dead serious. He said, I'm going to be there from like Sunday. Why don't you come out? And I said, okay, I'll come.
Yeah. Chris probably couldn't wait to fucking change his flight. I know you. You love to go out there and hang out the whole week. For you, it's, as my wife would say, it's a vacation for you.
Well, I don't have to.
My wife takes a vacation. She gave me Thursday. I can go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. She's like, oh, you got a 3-day vacation.
Oh yeah, she's 100% right in your case because you got 3 little kids.
Well, you got more kids than I do.
I know. Well, I got 2 little kids.
Yeah.
But then I told you I have 2 grown-up kids, which is even harder than the 2 little kids because they're always trying to pull something under my.
I wonder if we lived next door to each other, would my wife poison your wife? Like, would you be not traveling much, or would I be traveling more? I'm trying to figure out who would influence me.
I think your wife would probably override. I don't know.
Yeah. You wouldn't be traveling anymore. Yeah. Or maybe they would help each other, and then I would be able to travel more. Maybe
No, you would probably get criticized eventually for not traveling, and I'd probably be criticized for traveling, and then vice versa. Once you started traveling, you'd be criticized, and once
No, I'm thinking if you lived around here, maybe they would help each other out, like with the kid watching. So maybe she'd be more likely to say, you know what, go with Chris, get out of here. We don't even want you here.
I think we'd just recruit Amanda's mother to take care.
Amanda's mother likes like grown-up kids. She doesn't like little babies.
I would recruit your mother-in-law to take care of my 2 younger kids.
Yeah, there you go.
We like getting out.
I know you do. All right, let's talk about it. I want to talk about Evan Centopani for a second because Evan is making a comeback at the New York Pro. I think he's been away from the stage for 4 years, right now, or something like that, after tearing that quadricep muscle. What do you think about that comeback? What is he? Is he 40 yet?
Yeah, but he's a youthful 40. If Evan's legs are improved, I think he can win shows. Period. And
he just tore a quad. I mean, his legs were never his strong body part. Is that something that's not?
I guess if.
I mean, how many guys can improve their legs after a quad tear at 40 years old?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. But if they're there, if his legs are improved, it's an if. He's got the width, structure, depth to his physique.
Great.
And his legs his legs at different times of his quote career. I hate to say that, like a career. I hate using that word, but his competitive history. His legs have been very good at times, and at other times have been lagging his upper body, and half of that is because he's so wide.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many guys out there with better arms, chest, and delts, even back than as that. I mean, he's really got a really good, great structure upper body wise.
Totally agree.
And he's got. I mean, I haven't seen his quads since he tore it, but he's got like amazing front quads. He always had like his weakness is really those adductors, those inner thighs, and his hamstrings and glutes are a little shallow. But he's got he always had great front quads, I thought.
When Jose told me that when he was prepping for I think it was the New York Pro where he tore the quad, that he was extremely impressive. Jose doesn't just toss out compliments like their giveaways. He has to be impressed, and he said seen Evan. I don't know. It was only within a couple months out from the New York Pro, and he was raving about him.
Really, it's a tough injury to come. He's got those cast iron joints though. He'll probably be fine. It's just quad injury recoveries are not easy, and I'm sure that's why it took him so many years to actually decide to get back on stage, because Evan's a perfectionist, we all know, and he's not going to get on stage unless his legs look good. So I have to imagine they're probably back at least to what they were. Maybe they are better. Who knows? We'll have to see. He built this crazy, I was watching this video. He built this crazy like gym in his house, like his basement or something like that. His dad and him like welded. They made their own power cage. Like you could buy a power cage. You're gonna like start a gym in your house or create a gym. More than likely, you're gonna go out and buy all this equipment you want. He actually made the stuff like from like scratch, like with iron, and drilling. You gotta. It's such an erotic video. I love it. It's like watching. You ever watch these things on TV where they show the home improvement shows?
Yeah,
it's like that. I think Animal filmed it, and they did a great job. Whoever edited it together, like I was actually entertained watching like them actually build this thing. It was so neurotic about the measurements and every little aspect of building this power cage. It's like a work of art. It's like Da Vinci couldn't have done a better job on this power cage. Him and his dad did it together.
Do you use plastic? It's connected to Evan. Plastic baby bottles or glass baby bottles?
I don't know how this is relevant, but yeah, we use the plastic. Yeah, Evan would not approve that, I'm sure.
No, I know he wouldn't. Every time I give my son plastic baby bottles, I think of Evan, which means every day. I'm dead serious, because he would.
My kids are like
have a heart attack if he was given
a glass bottle is a projectile. In my house, there would be shattered glass everywhere. Although I'm sure they make it shadowproof, probably glass baby bottles.
He'd be telling me that my son would have a low sperm count when he's 20 years old.
You know what it really is? No, it's really fats, like oils, that you don't really want to put into plastic. Water soluble stuff is really not that bad. Now, if you're heating up a bottle in plastic, maybe you can leach some stuff in there. But by and far, if you're just putting like milk or formula and you're mixing it in the bottle, you probably don't have much to worry about. That's the truth. Like when I microwave stuff, I don't usually use plastic, like the plastic stuff anymore, because that could technically leach into the foods. But, I'll try to use like ceramic or something like that. But unless I'm doing that, I'm not too worried about it. You can't go crazy, People are not dropping dead from plastic, toxicity, McDonald's is probably a lot more toxic than putting a plastic cup in the microwave or whatever. So, do your kids suck on those pacifiers?
No, they've never used a pacifier.
Really? None of your kids?
No, we've offered it. They've just never taken it.
Really? Wow.
Funny, isn't it?
Like addicted to them. My son really loved them. I'm surprised he gave them up, actually. We got him to give them up because his teeth weren't coming in. And my daughter, still at 2 years old, loves them. She's got like my father used to tell me the story that I used to have like 10 of them, one for each finger. I used to put them around my fingers, and I knew they had different tastes and everything. My daughter's the same way. She's got like 10 of them, and she sleeps at night. And you know what the funny thing is? We don't even care because she's so into them that, like, do I really want to create stress for her?
Quiet.
Yeah, she's quiet, right?
As long as she's quiet, right?
Right. At some point, we're gonna have to like take them away, but you know, we're not there yet. She's not there yet. Let's potty train her first. You know, she actually peed in the potty the other day. So,
Oh, that's a big highlight.
you know, the kids are ready to be potty trained when they're actually telling you, "I gotta go do poopies behind the couch," you know, in my diaper. You know, well, if you could tell me you're doing poopies, then you could probably take those thing off and sit on the potty and do it. You know, my son never used a potty. He went right to the toilet bowl. Yeah, I think he went on a potty once. He didn't like the whole potty concept. He liked the idea of being able to flush the toilet. Matter of fact, that might have been the whole impetus for him to actually become potty trained, so he can flush the toilet. He was obsessed with the toilet flusher.
They get crazy about everything.
Yeah.
Right. Toilets, flushing, turn on the dishwasher. I have a gas stove. They've always turned on the gas stove in my house. Like when I'm not looking, they'd run over and like, oh yeah, reach at the top. Like they could barely reach it, reach, stretch, and they'd switch the little button on, and I'd come in, like I'd turn my back for a minute, or go to the bathroom, come out, and the stove would be on.
Isn't it true? My wife says all the time, you know, your job for the first, like, whatever it is, 6 years of their life or whatever, maybe more, is just to keep them alive, right?
Oh yeah, choking hazards. My gosh, how many things have you found in your son's mouth that you could choke on? That you right?
My kids have big mouths. They don't choke really on anything, but yeah, you're right. I mean, everything's a danger around them. They'll get into everything. If you turn around for 3 seconds, and it's always whenever I turn around for 3 seconds, my wife's always like walking into the room. You're not watching them? I'm like, literally 3 seconds, maybe I turned around.
Yeah, well, that's all it takes. Then you
But
can't
she's
find them
right.
in the house.
No, she's absolutely right. Yeah, it's 3 seconds, and they're you know, they're stabbing each other with a knife or something like that, you know, or doing something else they should be doing.
You got pills all around your house, all the vitamins and
you know what? I'm terrible. I drop them on the floor all the time. Do you do that? Well, you don't take vitamins, probably.
I don't take any vitamins.
Every time I do it, I'm always like, you know, taking vitamins out and put them in little bags, and so I can take them during the day. I always invariably drop a vitamin every single day. I don't know how I do it. I don't even know where it must bounce or something like that. And my mother-in-law will find one. My wife will find one. Did you drop this? Well, of course I did. Who else did it? You know. Luckily, my kids luckily don't put stuff in their mouth. You know, and most of the vitamins are not. There's nothing wrong with them. They'll just get like a mouthful of, like, you know, bitterness. That's all. But yeah, you got to keep an eye on everything when it comes to that. So that's it. Arnold is coming up. I'm excited. I get to go this year. Although I went last year. I missed the Olympia.
Yes, you did. You missed the Olympia.
Are
you going to go to the Olympia?
There was an article in the New York Post. I think I sent it to you, right? About AMI selling the Olympia to Jake Wood.
Oh yeah, you did send it to me.
Yeah, when you make the New York Post, you know that's a big deal. It seemed like from the article that I read, and you tell me what you think. First of all, they suggested that the Olympia was probably sold, the whole Olympia and the three media publications, Muscle Fitness Flex and Muscle Fitness First. It seems as though they was that whole, and the Olympia, that whole package was about a $70 million package. Is that your takeaway from that?
It was my takeaway, and it's funny because, I mean, the new owner would know better than anyone.
Yeah. But
I was curious what you value the Olympia at versus what you value the quote publications at, because what are the publications? What would the publications sold? Well, the publications are not. They're basically buying their social media presence, because that's why I said quote. I mean, yeah, they're not even going to publish the magazine anymore. But they said that buying a social media presence is the hugest risk you can take, right? In business, because you know what, social media as we know it might be completely different in 4 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be totally different Instagram could be radically different in 5 years. It might not be obsolete, but the owner of Fox News spent how much on MySpace, and that went kaput.
True.
So I mean, you don't know. It's different than a traditional business that's got 50 years of history behind it.
Didn't it seem to you though that at least the article, it seemed like AMI sold the Olympia and all these titles because they needed to pay down their debt. It didn't seem like they were. It didn't say in the article like, oh, they sold it because they just were, they just wanted to move on. And
no, they didn't. It sounded like they didn't want.
They didn't want to sell it, right?
Well, I mean, you sell for two reasons: you sell to pay off debt, or you sell to, enjoy the profit. And it sounded this way. It sounded from the article, or it read like that the business was sold to take the profits, like you said, to pay down debt. Which can put their overall company with less debt in a better financial position, which would make obviously sense, which is a reason to sell. But it's you never. The flip side is, to some degree, a lot of people would say, you never want to sell a business that's a cash cow, because it's a cash cow, right? You live off the cash.
Right. Although maybe it's not a cash cow.
Well, that's, the whole valuation seemed $70 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, that is a lot of money.
I mean, because it's, the Olympia is a one-day event.
Well, you're buying a legacy, is really what you're buying. You're buying the Joe Weider legacy. What was the original Weider publications? When Weider sold the publications to AMI, was it like a 300 million?
300, north of 300 million, or right around million.
So they took a loss. I mean, but I guess, look, it would have taken a very special buyer to buy that Olympia, because Jake is a bodybuilding, fan too. So he's buying it because he really likes it. I don't know if you would have found too many companies that would have gone in there with that kind of cash and said, hey, well, yeah, we'll take it from you. So it took it's like when you have an exotic car that's really all done up and everything like that, you have to find a special buyer for that. You're not going to find the average guy who goes into the dealership who's going to say, yeah, give me that car. But people who are an aficionado of cars, who might say, appreciate the uniqueness of the car, would understand, and they would pay more money for that, right?
You're 100% right. It's like in real estate, there's, in your neighborhood, what's the typical house sell for?
Who knows? It changes.
Let's say it's 500,000.
Okay.
But there may be hundreds of buyers looking for 500,000, a 400,000, a $300,000 house.
Yeah.
But the crazy specialty house, one of a kind, is one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
Right on the water, maybe 6 miles from your house. But the total number of buyers, because of its uniqueness, and I mean, there's not a lot of buyers for it.
A lot of times too, there's that one house in the neighborhood that's it's probably worth double what the other houses are worth, but no one will ever pay it because it'll never appraise at that, right? So it takes a special person who just wants that particular house the way it is, even though it's not worth it because it's of where it is. And
100%.
So
I mean, but the bottom line is, probably with something like that type of, I'm sure, well, my guess, I'm not sure, if, a lot of times people buy something like that, and even if they can, quote, make it go, meaning make a small amount of money on it, they're buying it for future value, thinking that they can bring a uniqueness to it, do something different with it, expand it or make it grow, so that 10 years down the road, when you look back, they say, gosh, we got it for a bargain.
Right, exactly.
I mean, that's ultimate, because people do that with buildings all the time. They'll buy a building and people say, well, that company, they overpaid for that building. And then 10 years down the road, once they've, one, got it stabilized, two, made improvements, attracted a better tenant pool, whether it be residential or commercial, and 10 years down the road, a lot of times they look like geniuses, that they didn't overpay, that they underpaid for it.
Sure. Yeah, I never thought about that from that perspective. Yeah. I guess
you can say this: the shows that Jake Wood has done, in terms of how they look in terms of success on the outside, somebody attending and say, was that a successful show? On a scale of 1 to 10, they're a 10.
Right. I know what you're saying.
And there's no better example than the Wings of Strength, the female bodybuilding show that, offers cars and money and, first class accommodations and first class everything. What's the name of that show? Wings of the...
John and I were speculating about that, the Rising Phoenix show. We're speculating, I wonder if he's going to keep that show, and maybe it should be moved around the Arnold to kind of replace the Miss International, that took place. So you have like a women's bodybuilding in the winter around the Arnold, and then you have the Olympia. Maybe they should keep both like that. What do you think about that?
Well, as someone who loves the sport of female bodybuilding, I don't think he's going to just let it fold it up because he has the Olympia now.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he may continue to have it, right before the Olympia or switch it around.
Well, it's a lot of money though they're giving away that. So we like 2 big shows, and he's financing both of them. You know what I mean? So you would think that what I would do probably is why does he just sit down with Arnold and say, hey Arnold, how do we get the Miss International back into the Arnold? How about I sponsor it? It might be cheaper to do that than to hold this whole separate show.
Yeah, maybe he has, and we don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. He's definitely moving, in the right direction. Now, I just want to tell people the RxMuscle YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to it, get on there and subscribe. We've been
who'd you interview this week? You guys
working our butts off, and I know a lot of people listen to this show. And maybe if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like those videos, and watch them. And that's going to inspire us to just do more like this. And I think that to me is something that's important to me. And turn your notifications on so you don't miss the videos when they come out. We've been doing a lot of great Iron Road to the Olympia videos this past 2 weeks, all sponsored by Chemical Warfare. And I want to make sure that we really cover the athletes. And some of the athletes respond and they want to come on the show. Some people don't respond, but we're trying to do that. We're doing analysis. Hopefully, we'll have an iron debate this week, Chris. If you'll be back, obviously, so we can get you on that. And we'll do as much analysis as possible prior to the Arnold, and then we'll be out there in Columbus, Ohio, with all the great stuff that we get to do. By the way, Chris, I'm in the Hampton Inn. I'm not in that hotel that you're in. I went back to the Hampton. Yeah.
Tell me that.
You
got. I'll come for the free coffee in the lobby.
Yeah, I'll meet you for some coffee. Oh yeah, I did tell you that. I can't remember anything anymore.
I know you don't.
So I did a phone consult with some guy like 3 days ago, and he emailed me. He's like, "I'm just reminding you about the phone consult. You said just remind you to about it." I'm like, well, remind me what? I said, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. I said, what are we talking about? What are we talking about 3 days ago? I did 4 consults on the phone. And there's just so much going on. At first, I thought I was losing my memory, and I might be losing a little bit, but I think it's just I'm so busy and so distracted. And,
we started the show, Ramy distractions, and we're ending it with
there you go.
Distractions.
The difference is you and I are not getting on the Arnold Classic stage. That's the difference.
No. You're lucky to get out there. I'm glad you're going.
I'm glad I'm going to get to hang out with you for a couple of days out there. It's about time, right? It's been a while because I haven't seen you for a whole year.
Well, that's why I sent you pictures of my kids from Qatar. And
I couldn't believe it. I can't believe it. Chris's oldest son is like 6'4". He's so much tall. First of all, you're almost 6 feet yourself. He's so much taller than you in that picture. He looks like what's his name? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, compared to the rest of the team, You and your wife look like midgets compared to him.
You won't believe it. You won't believe it. You won't believe it. You know when I sent you that picture that he's like 6'6"? You know what I was going to tell you?
What?
I didn't. Texting you at like 2 a.m. in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I call him Kareem.
Do you? No way, really?
Because he's lanky, right? Isn't he lanky, right?
Yeah, he's got that simple, like, cool. Remember, Kareem had that like real cool look to him, but he was always so much taller than everyone, like.
When Kareem played at UCLA, there's a picture But he's at the end of the team, like that family picture I sent you.
Yeah.
It looks like some type of giant. With the
I know
rest
the
of the
picture. I remember it. Yeah. Because I read the book on Lou Alcindor when I was growing up.
Yeah.
That was Kareem's previous name before he changed it. Very funny. Well, at least we're still on the same wavelength, even though you're all the way in Qatar.
It's just I wish I had. If I had texted you it, maybe you wouldn't have said that he looked like Kareem.
I don't even know why I said it. Just he was just so much bigger than everyone else in your family shot. And your other son is big too, but this one, the oldest one, is much taller.
Well, the 14-year-old's taller than me, so he's 5.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely. I couldn't believe that. I was pointing that out to Amanda. I was like, "Holy mackerel, he's bigger than Chris. He's 14." I said, "Nuts." Big boys. And you do have them playing basketball. You said, right? Or not anymore?
No, they're doing track.
You got to get the big one in basketball, Chris. Come on, man.
Yeah, but in the hurdles, he just like. We're in Qatar.
Yeah, he's like your same.
He won the state meet this past week. Had he been at the state meet for sure in hurdles,
I know
either that he was lower than second.
Unbelievable. So. Well, Chris, maybe you can live vicariously through the athletic accomplishments of your kids. Are they looking at colleges yet? Are they thinking about that yet?
They are thinking about it. They're not looking yet, but they are definitely thinking about it.
Do you want them to go to like an Ivy League school, or do you want them to go to some place that's like more affordable?
I would like them to go where they're going to put in their legit best effort. So, I would want them to. The 14-year-old's kind of like a scholar, so he'd probably want to go to like Ivy League to be challenged.
Right.
And the 16-year-old probably would want to go to an easier school so that he wouldn't have to put in the effort. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Do they want to go out of state? I mean, or they want to stay closer to home? What's their
options are open. Right now, they're open-minded. They probably want to lean towards going out of state.
Boston would be perfect because it's kind of like close enough for you guys to drive there, but there's so many schools there to pick from, right?
It's ridiculous. Beautiful city.
Yeah.
Tremendous university city. There's a tremendous amount of universities and college in Boston.
And it's fun.
It'd be great if they ended up there. I'd love it.
It's fun too. I mean, the only negative would be, sometimes kids want to go someplace warm, but most kids who are from the Northeast, the weather doesn't bother them. It didn't bother me when I went to school. I didn't think, hey, I better go to Florida so I have warm weather, which was a stupid move. I should have done that, I should have gone to Florida. Why I didn't do that, I don't know, but
you would have settled there and already have saved a fortune in taxes.
There you go. You're right. All right. That's it. I'm going to let you go. I know you got a whole day ahead of you still there in Qatar, and I have to go to sleep, or actually answer some emails and go to sleep. And appreciate you taking some time on your vacation to do this. I actually gave Chris the option not to do the show again like last week, and he's like, no, I'm doing it. I said, okay. So as we say every week, Chris, even with our new format here, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
Truth hurts.
good night, everyone. See you next week.